Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers. I am Veronica Malolas, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstack Group of Companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Andria LaRocco, Business Development Director at Baker Barrios Architects. Her story as a young professional, building her career through many challenges, and her passion for mentorship is so inspiring. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast. Well, hello, Andria. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. And I know that you're just recovering from a little bit of the sniffles or whatever that is that's going
Yeah.
around here in Florida. So I appreciate you being here today. And if you don't mind, I just want to dive right in. I wanted to
Mhm.
ask you about your story, how you grew up in your environment, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. This is certainly my first time being on a podcast. Um, my story, I was born in Massachusetts, maybe 45 minutes west of Boston in like a very rural town. I remember when we got a stoplight and we got our first grocery store. So um, I trained at the Boston Ballet, actually. So my sister was a dancer, my mom was a dancer, my grandmother was a dancer. And so 6 days a week after school, I'd take the train, go to Boston, dance for hours and hours, take the train home, start my homework. So it certainly taught me a lot of discipline very early on. Um, so I always wanted to be a professional dancer. That was my whole life. But my parents forced me to go to college. And in
Wait
hindsight,
a minute. So was it ballet?
ballet, classical ballet.
Wow, you look like a ballerina, actually.
Oh, thanks.
So that's so awesome. Yes, yes, yes. Tell us more.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a little removed from my life now, but it stays with you for sure. So that was always my dream. And then my parents said, you have to go to college. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to college, but I'm going to dance in college. So you have to get accepted into the university with academics, and then you also have to go and physically audition to get in the dance programs. So I was doing a ton of that. And I actually wound up at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, which is in Western Massachusetts. It's really beautiful, like quintessential college experience, fall foliage, pretty architecture. And I got into their dance program there. And they said, okay, fine, but you need a backup plan too. So I got 2 degrees in 4 years. I got my BFA in dance, and then I got a bachelor's of science in communication disorders, which is really like you need to go to graduate school to be either a speech pathologist or an audiologist with that. I just took some classes and I liked it. And I said, all right, let me give this a shot. After school, I started my own dance company. I moved to the city, to Boston. I danced professionally. I taught, I choreographed, I performed all over the country. And it was a blast. It was such a fun phase of life. I had to bartend at the same time to make ends meet. And I met my now husband, and we met at a restaurant. And after years of doing that, again, super fun, we said, maybe we should try to get like salaries and some health benefits and figure our lives out. So,
Yeah, I mean, being an artist is so hard financially. So
yeah,
hard. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
yeah, it really is. We were piecing everything together, and just getting by. And Boston's an expensive place to live. So we had some family here. His parents and my dad were in Orlando. And so we said, let's just physically displace ourselves and see if that lights a fire under our bums and we can figure something else out. So we kind of sold most of our belongings. We filled up our cars and we drove to Orlando with no jobs, but we did have a place to stay.
And just for
Yeah.
context, how old were you and your husband
Oh,
when you
this is
moved?
almost 10 years ago. So 26, 25, 26.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
His name's Matthew. He went to UCF, and he's the first in his family, first generation to get a college degree. So that
That's
was what
so
he
awesome.
did. Yeah, I'm still very proud of him. And then my first job was teaching at Orlando Ballet because that's kind of what I knew is the fastest thing I could get. And then I got a job off of Craigslist, which isn't even a thing anymore, I don't think, but Craigslist,
No.
nobody uses it, right? Um, and it was for an event production and event planning company, and just a husband and wife owned company in Orlando. And they're actually two of our best friends now, which is really cool. But
That's so awesome.
yeah, it's so that was a blessing. And I learned a lot from them. I ended up doing like their sales, putting together all their packages for certain events. I would go out and network and try to win them new work. I learned Adobe, started doing some of their marketing stuff. Um, so that was my first office job ever. Didn't know how to sit at a desk for 8+ hours. They would make fun of me because I would have to go for a walk and go drink water, and they called me like their office plant because I needed sunshine and hydration. I said, I can't sit here anymore. So that was a unique experience, but I learned a ton. And then I kind of outgrew that just because they were a small operation and there wasn't really anywhere for me to keep growing. And I had a friend from Boston that her and her family moved here before my husband and I did, just unrelated. And she said, well, I work for this architectural firm. We need business development. I think you'd be really good at it. Why don't you come in and interview? So I did. I didn't know anything about architecture. I never even heard of the title business development, but I went in, I brought all the marketing collateral I had created. I kind of talked to them about my capabilities in that realm and just I think I fit in culturally and age wise. It was a young firm here in Orlando and they hired me. Don't know why, but they did. And so that's kind of how it all started, how I got into this industry. And that was 2018. So I started late. I was 29 or 30 when I started what I would now consider my career.
And that
Yeah,
was an industry that you've never really been exposed to before. So that's
correct.
amazing. That's completely amazing. And of course, the company is Baker Barrios, and it's a fairly large architecture firm. And by the way, thank you for introducing Tim to me. And I think
Hmm.
he's just fantastic. Fantastic
Yeah.
company. Walking around your office, I could see the culture and how you fit in. So that's
Oh,
awesome.
thanks.
So let me ask you about a challenge that comes to mind that you overcame. What would
Hmm.
that be?
Well, that company was a different company. It wasn't Baker Barrios. It was a smaller woman-owned firm here.
Hmm.
Um, and so I've had quite the journey getting to where I am at Baker Barrios in my short career of 6 or 7 years. So I started there and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, like I said, and I was wildly insecure because all of it was brand new and they happened to not have a ton of time to train me. So I just kind of got thrown out there, just sink or swim. Looking back, I think it was a fantastic education,
Yeah.
but living in it, I was pretty terrified and pretty insecure. So I wasn't super happy, and I just told myself, I just got to make it a year. I just got to make it a year. And through all the networking and being out and about, I had met quite a few people by that point. And I met a gentleman that owned a general contracting business in Jacksonville that really needed to drum up more business in Orlando. And so he had recruited me, and I went to go work for him. But to your point of challenges, I loved working in construction. I had some great success, but it was the year of COVID, and it was a
Mm.
really small, maybe a 10-person firm, and he let everybody go. So
Oh,
I experienced a layoff, which was just shocking. I've since talked to him. We stay in touch, and I had to ask for my own just well being and just to know. I said, you know, would you hire me back? Like, he said, I'd hire you back in a second. Like, I hated to do that. But when you're so new at it, you don't know really. And you kind of take it personally almost. But obviously, it all gets you where you need to be. But, so I've had a couple hiccups along the way, I guess you could call them. And then after that, I went to work for a civil engineering firm, worked there a couple years, and then they closed down their Orlando office. So it happened to me
wow.
again. So it was less of a blow the second time, I guess. And luckily, I had, Baker Barrios had expressed interest. And that's the beauty of building really, deep connections in the industry is people pick you up as soon as you fall. So I was really, really lucky to just be able to call up my now boss and say, hi, something happened. And she said, come in on Monday. I came in on Monday and they interviewed me and sent me an offer that day. So those were really challenging moments for sure. And in the midst of all of this, I was pregnant, you know, so, and I'm a new mom. I have a 1 year old. So
Wow.
a lot to balance. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think as we grow into a career,
Mhm.
and as young people like you, when I was a lot younger, I used to think that we'd set ourselves on a path and get to the destination that we think that is made for us. And yet life just has so many twists and turns. And layoffs is certainly one of those challenges, I would agree, that
Yeah.
would sort of blindside you, like you
Hmm.
don't know if it's your fault or it's just the economy or whatever other things are happening to the owner. So thank you for sharing that. Let me
Sure.
ask you about influence. If there was one outcome that you're most proud of that you had an influence in, what would that be?
First thing that comes to mind for that is, back to my first job in the industry, one of the organizations I joined right out the gate was CREW, which is Commercial Real Estate for Women, which is a international organization with a really strong chapter here in Orlando. And I credit them to a lot of my education as it pertains to the industry.
Mm.
I've been on the board of directors there for 2 years now and directing their Future Leaders Committee, which is anyone 35 years of age or under. And a big part of what being a future leader means is like we're supposed to provide mentorship opportunities. So in my director position, I, with the help of a few others, really like dreamt up and created and launched a mentorship program within the chapter that has grown over the last couple years and has been really, really successful. So that's something recent that I'm proud of, the influence that I had there.
Oh, that's amazing, especially because you have had influence on other women. And I think that women in general need a lot of support and mentorship because
Mhm.
industries are still very much male, and I'll use the word populated rather than dominated. I heard
That's
that
good.
from another woman leader who said that they don't describe it as a male dominated industry, they describe it as a male populated industry because we're
I
making
like that.
headway. So I appreciate that you are actually putting some time into other people, other women who
Thank
will learn so many things from you. And it
you.
seems like you have a very deep sort of understanding of the journey or the path of changing careers and going through economic difficulties.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure that they're blessed to have you. So thank you for sharing that. So let me
Sure.
ask you, Andrea, if you had one piece of advice you want to give to someone in the audience today, what would that be?
The thing I try to live by is to just really be authentic and to be genuine and to just be yourself because I learned really quickly that it's exhausting to be anything else. And with that, then you end up finding people you like to work with. You end up having fun at work. My boss now, she asks every day, has anyone laughed today? She wants to make sure that we at least laughed once. So, just showing up and being able to be yourself and be authentic. I think, in my role in business development, out and about networking, and I'm sure with yours as well, just business, people can sniff, if you're being inauthentic. And, so that's what I just try to be honest, and I think that yields the best results.
Well, yeah, and to add to that, Andrea, I think that a lot of people, young people entering a career, think that they have to be putting on some kind of a show to be able
Right.
to break barriers or to be able to get a foot in the door. And I guess that works sometimes, but it's not
Sure.
sustainable, right? And
Exactly.
I love the story that you said about being at the office and your team leader asking if somebody has laughed today. And I think that with you being authentic and with anybody else being authentic, you also gravitate and attract the same
Mhm.
positive people, right?
Yeah.
Or the same type of people. So, and that makes for great community. So thank you. Thank you for that. Well, we've come to the part of the interview where you get to ask me a question and I'll pass on the mic to you. So go ahead.
Okay. Awesome. I was wondering, just because it's in line with my unexpected journey, but what sort of twists in your professional career or personal life have you had to, maybe not seen coming or had to overcome, and what's taught you the most about being resilient?
Well, thank you for that question. And I have to tell you that I actually immigrated to the United States not of my choice.
Hmm.
My ex husband actually had dumped me. I'll just say it like that. And so I immigrated here because my family had already immigrated here and really had no choice. And as immigrants, I'll tell you, it's innate to be resilient because you have no choice. You have to make it. And so when you think about the journey of someone like me going to another country, I mean, that's such a huge challenge to overcome, right? And
Yeah.
so resilience really is your ticket to making sure that you get on the right path to success. Well, and the other one that I could think of as far as my personal career is moving from broker
Hmm.
to owning my own company
Right.
and now venturing into development, which that's how we actually met
Right.
because of a project that hopefully we will do together with Baker Barrios. But I think that eventually in someone's career like my own, you have to start looking at other possibilities, other opportunities. You have to be open to evolving. And I think that courage
Hmm.
really is so important, and resilience, of course, because that is what's going to keep you going, because if you give up too fast too soon,
Hmm.
you would have wasted so much of your time, number one, and you're
Yeah.
probably going to be emotionally drained. And so a lot of intentionality, I think, is important.
Yeah.
Shifting from one place to another, shifting from one career to another, I
Yeah.
think is really, you got to put some thought into it. And I've been wanting to say, at least to the audience, that self-awareness is so important because that
Hmm.
gives you authenticity, that
Sure.
gives you a lot of things that will help you
Yeah.
to be humble, for instance, to know if it's time to do things a different way. And so, I welcome challenges. And again, I,
Hmm.
I go back to being an immigrant, right? And pivoting, I think, is just, it should be inherent to everybody who's trying to build a career.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
Thank you for that question. I love that
Of
question.
course.
I wanted to ask you about what you do. You're in business development, and if there's someone in the audience that wanted to connect with you because of your
Mhm.
architectural firm, how would they
Sure.
do that?
Sure. They can find me on LinkedIn, Andria LaRocco, or you can call the office at Baker Barrios. We're downtown Orlando, and our website is bakerbarrios.com.
I want to
Yeah.
thank you, Andrea, for being my guest today. I think that your story is pretty incredible, being a ballerina and being in dance, and then just evolving into someone in business development for your firm. It's so inspiring to see someone as
Thank
young
you.
as you to have gone through so much
Thank you.
and
I appreciate that.
still come out so great and successful and inspirational. And you also mentoring others through crew, I think is pretty incredible. So thank you. Do you have
Awesome.
any parting words for us?
Just that I mean, I feel really lucky to have landed where I've landed, knowing nothing about this industry and kind of just getting plopped into it. I feel really lucky that I feel like it's the right fit for me. And I can say that even after having endured two layoffs and, this just the unexpected obstacles like that we both kind of spoke to. But I think when those happen, it's inevitable, right? but you pivot, you overcome. And when you zoom out, you know, all you can hope is at the end of the day, your trajectory is just, it's going up, right? And I think that's the goal. So it's been a pleasure meeting you and interacting with you and hopefully doing business with you. And I'm really
Yeah.
grateful that you asked me to be on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely, Andrea. I totally appreciate the time you've spent with us today.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to run into to each other very soon here.
Yeah.
So have a great day, and
Thank
we'll see
you.
you later.
Okay. Thank you so much.